You won't admit it, but Broly is you. That rage you keep locked up, that pressure building in your chest when someone crosses a line, that moment when everything goes red and you just want to explode. Yeah, that's Broly. And honestly, it's low-key terrifying how accurate it is. See, most people watch Dragon Ball and think Broly's just some insane, out-of-control beast. They miss the whole point. Broly isn't angry because he's a monster. He's angry because he's protecting something. A wound. An ancient one. Something that happened so long ago he can't even remember it consciously anymore, but his body does. His nervous system does. That's the thing about trauma, dude. It doesn't need your permission to run your life. It just does. And Broly? He's the perfect psychological blueprint for what happens when you spend your entire existence trying to contain something that was never meant to be contained. You think you're in control. You think you're fine. But deep down there's this rage, this grief, that's just waiting for the right trigger. And when it comes, game over. You're not you anymore. You're that thing you've been running from your whole life. So yeah, Broly is you. And this video is going to show you exactly why. If you're still here, it's because some part of this hit you. Don't pretend you didn't feel it. Most people will watch and numb themselves again. They'll pretend everything's okay when it's not. But you stayed. That says it all. So do this, sign up now. Not for me. But because you know that if you leave now, everything will go back to the way it was. Continuing. The part that changes everything starts now. Alright, so let's break this down. Broly's origin story is basically a masterclass in how childhood trauma literally rewires your brain. And I'm not talking about some vague feel-good psychology here. I'm talking about neurological fact. When Broly was a baby, literally a newborn, he was stabbed. Not metaphorically. Not emotionally. Physically stabbed by King Vegeta because he was too powerful, too dangerous. And then he watched his father Paragus nearly die right next to him. So picture this. You're a newborn, you can't even talk yet, and your nervous system is being flooded with cortisol, adrenaline, and every stress hormone known to man. Your brain is forming its core pathways and the message it's receiving is crystal clear. The world is not safe. People will hurt you. And the only way to survive is to be stronger, more powerful, more terrifying than anything that could ever hurt you again. That's the foundation. That's the operating system Broly's running on for the rest of his life. And here's the kicker. He doesn't remember it. Not consciously. But his body does. His amygdala does. His entire fight or flight response is permanently set to annihilate. And dude, this is exactly what happens to real people. When you experience trauma, especially early trauma, it doesn't just go away. It gets encoded. It becomes part of your wiring. And every time something even remotely similar happens, every time someone threatens you, disrespects you, makes you feel small, your brain doesn't just react. It overreacts. Because it's not responding to the present moment. It's responding to the past. It's responding to that wound. And Broly? He's the ultimate example of this. Every time Goku shows up, Broly loses it. And people are like, oh, he's just jealous, or he's obsessed with Goku. Nah, it's way deeper than that. Goku represents something to Broly's subconscious. He represents the trigger, the reminder, the thing that activates that ancient wound. Because guess what? When Broly was a baby, crying in that incubator, guess who was right next to him? Goku. Crying too. And in Broly's fragmented, traumatized baby brain, that sound became associated with pain, with fear, with death. So now, every time Goku's around, Broly's nervous system is screaming, danger, threat, destroy. And he can't control it. Because trauma doesn't live in your logical mind. It lives in your body. It lives in your gut. It lives in that split second before you even realize you're angry. And this is where it gets real. Because how many times have you snapped at someone and then later thought, why did I go off like that? How many times have you felt that rage bubble up over something small, something stupid, and you couldn't stop it? That's not you being dramatic. That's your nervous system doing exactly what Broly's does. It's protecting the wound. It's making sure no one ever gets close enough to hurt you again. And the wildest part? Broly's power, the thing that makes him the legendary Super Saiyan, it's literally fueled by this pain. The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. The more out of control he feels, the more unstoppable he becomes. And that's the trap, bro. Because in the moment, rage feels like power. It feels like protection. Feels like you're finally standing up for yourself. But really? You're just bleeding. You're just letting that old wound run the show. And everyone around you can see it except you. Paragus knew this. That's why he put that control device on Broly's head. Not because Broly was evil, but because Broly was in pain. And pain that powerful, pain that unprocessed, pain that ancient, it'll destroy everything, including yourself. And here's the thing most people miss about Broly's story. Paragus isn't the villain. He's the enabler. He's the parent who saw the wound but never actually helped heal it. Instead, he controlled it. He suppressed it. He used it. And that's toxic, dude. Because when you just suppress trauma, when you just try to control it with force, with rules, with distractions, it doesn't go away. It just builds, just waits, and eventually it explodes. And when Broly finally breaks free from that control, when he finally lets the rage out, it's not freedom. It's destruction. It's chaos. It's the exact thing he was trying to avoid his whole life. He becomes the monster everyone feared he was. And the saddest part? He still doesn't know why. He still doesn't understand that he's not angry at Goku. He's angry at the world that hurt him. He's angry at the system that failed him. He's angry at the wound that never healed. And dude, if that doesn't hit different, I don't know what will. Because how many of us are walking around like Broly? How many of us are carrying wounds we don't even remember, but we feel them every single day? How many of us are one trigger away from losing it, from becoming someone we don't recognize? And the scariest part? Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just passionate, or intense, or standing up for themselves. But really they're just stuck in a loop. A trauma loop. And until you face that wound, until you actually process it, until you stop letting it run your life, you're just gonna keep repeating the cycle. You're just gonna keep exploding. And the people around you? They're gonna keep getting hurt. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're a wounded one. And wounds don't heal in the dark. They heal in the light. They heal when you look at them, when you understand them, when you stop running from them. And that's what Broly never got the chance to do. At least, not in most versions of his story. So here's where things get really dark. Because Broly's whole existence is built on this illusion. This lie that if he just gets strong enough, if he just holds it together long enough, if he just keeps that rage buried deep enough, everything will be fine. And that's the trap, dude. That's the lie we all tell ourselves. We think control equals healing. We think suppression equals strength. We think if we just white-knuckle our way through life, if we just never let anyone see the cracks, if we just keep grinding and pushing and pretending, we'll eventually be okay. But that's not how it works. That's not how trauma works. That's not how the human nervous system works. And Broly proves it in the most brutal way possible. See, every version of Broly's story is the same at its core. He's living under this massive pressure. Paragus has him on a leash, literally controlling him with that headband device. And Broly? He's just going along with it. He's compliant. He's quiet. He's trying to be good. Trying to be normal. Trying to not be the monster everyone thinks he is. And that's the thing, man. When you're traumatized, when you're carrying that kind of wound, you spend your whole life trying to prove you're not dangerous. You overcompensate. You people please. You make yourself small. You apologize for existing. Because deep down you believe the narrative. You believe you're too much. Too intense. Too broken. And so you control yourself. You regulate yourself. You become your own prison guard. And it works. For a while. Until it doesn't. Because here's the truth. You can't control trauma forever. You can't suppress rage indefinitely. You can't live your entire life in fight or flight mode and expect to stay sane. Something's gotta give. And for Broly, that something is always Goku. But it's not really about Goku, right? Goku's just the symbol. He's the scapegoat. He's the thing Broly's subconscious mind has latched onto as the source of all his pain. And this is what trauma does, bro. It finds a target. It needs a villain. It needs someone or something to blame. Because if you don't have a target, you have to face the real truth, which is that the world hurt you and there's no one to fight. There's no revenge. There's no justice. There's just pain. And that's unbearable. So your brain creates a story. It creates a reason. And for Broly, that reason is Goku. And once that trigger shows up, once Goku's in the picture, the facade crumbles. The control shatters. And Broly transforms. Not just physically, psychologically. He stops being the quiet, obedient, suppressed version of himself and becomes the thing he's been terrified of his whole life. Pure, unfiltered rage. And here's what's wild. When Broly goes full legendary Super Saiyan, he's not thinking. He's not strategizing. He's not even really conscious. He's just reacting. He's just destroying. He's just letting the wound take over completely. And dude, that's what it feels like when you finally snap. When you finally lose control. You're not you anymore. You're the pain. You're the anger. You're the part of you that's been screaming in the dark for years, finally breaking free. And it feels powerful. Feels like freedom. Like you're finally standing up for yourself. Like you're finally letting the world know they can't hurt you anymore. But it's not freedom. It's just the wound running the show. It's just the trauma hijacking your body and using it as a weapon. And the worst part? You can't stop it. Once it starts, once that threshold is crossed, there's no going back. Not until you've burned everything down. Not until you've exhausted yourself. Not until the rage runs out of fuel. And by then the damage is done. The people around you are gone. The relationships are destroyed. The trust is shattered. And you're left standing in the wreckage, wondering what the hell just happened. Wondering why you couldn't just keep it together. Wondering why you're like this. And that's the cycle, bro. That's the Broly cycle. Suppress, 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 until you explode. Then feel guilty. Then swear you'll never do it again. Then suppress some more. And the whole time you're not healing. You're just managing. You're just surviving. You're just white-knuckling your way through life, hoping you don't lose it again. But you will. Because the wound is still there. And now let's talk about what makes this even darker. In the newer Broly movie, the one where they actually gave him depth, where they made him sympathetic, we see something crucial. We see that Broly isn't naturally violent. He's not inherently destructive. He's actually gentle. He's soft. He forms a bond with that creature on the planet where he's stranded. He cares about his father, even though Paragus is manipulative and toxic. Broly's default state isn't rage. It's pain. It's loneliness. It's confusion. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. He just wants to be left alone. He just wants to be safe. But the world won't let him. His father won't let him. And most importantly, his own nervous system won't let him. Because that wound is still active. That trauma is still running in the background. And the second he's pushed, the second someone threatens him, disrespects him, or reminds him of that original pain, he has no choice. The rage takes over. And this is the part that breaks my heart, man. Because Broly doesn't want to be this way. He's not choosing violence. He's not choosing destruction. He's just trapped. Trapped in a body that's wired for survival. Trapped in a nervous system that thinks every conflict is life or death. Trapped in a story that was written for him before he even had a chance to choose. And how many of us are living that exact same reality? How many of us are walking around with a version of ourselves that we hate, that we're ashamed of, that we desperately wish we could change, but we don't know how? How many of us have blown up at people we love, pushed away people who cared about us, sabotaged our own happiness, because we couldn't control the thing inside us? And here's the kicker. People judge Broly. They call him a monster. They call him insane. They say he's too dangerous to exist. But none of them stop to ask why. None of them stop to see the wound. They just see the rage. They just see the destruction. They just see the symptoms. And they decide he's the problem. And dude, that's what happens in real life too. When someone's traumatized, when someone's in pain, when someone's struggling with their mental health, we don't ask what happened to them. We just judge what they're doing. We call them toxic. We call them crazy. We call them too much. And we walk away. And that just makes it worse. Because now they're not just wounded, they're alone. They're abandoned. They're convinced that they really are the monster everyone thinks they are. And so they stop trying. They stop reaching out. They stop believing they can change. And the wound gets deeper. The rage gets stronger. The cycle gets tighter. And eventually they become the thing they feared most. Not because they wanted to, but because no one showed them another way. And that's Broly's tragedy, man. He never had a chance. He was doomed from the start. Not because of his power, but because of his pain. And no one, not Paragus, not Goku, not even the universe itself, gave him the tools to heal. They just gave him more reasons to rage. More reasons to destroy. More reasons to believe that violence is the only language the world understands. And so that's what he became. And that's the scariest part of this whole thing. Because Broly isn't a cautionary tale about power. He's a cautionary tale about what happens when pain is ignored. When trauma is suppressed. When wounds are never given the chance to heal. He's a mirror. And if you're still watching this, it's because you see yourself in him. And that's okay. That's actually the first step. You felt it? No need to explain. Just comment, I felt it. Those who comment have faced it. Those who don't comment are still running, continuing. So here's the part nobody talks about. The part that's hiding in plain sight. The part that makes Broly's story go from tragic to terrifying. Because there's this moment, this exact moment in every version of his story, where everything shifts. Where the rage stops being reactive and starts being prophetic. Where Broly stops being the victim and becomes the manifestation of the very thing everyone feared. And it happens so quietly you almost miss it. See, the whole reason Broly was targeted as a baby, the whole reason King Vegeta tried to kill him, was because of a prophecy. A legend. The legendary Super Saiyan. A warrior so powerful, so destructive, so uncontrollable that he'd bring ruin to everything. And King Vegeta looked at this newborn baby and said, "That's him. That's the one. He's too dangerous to live." And so he tried to end it before it even started. He tried to kill the prophecy. But here's the thing about prophecies, bro. They're self-fulfilling. You can't kill them. You can only create them. Because the moment King Vegeta stabbed Broly, the moment he abandoned him and his father on that dying planet, the moment he decided this innocent child was a monster, he made the monster. He created the exact thing he was trying to prevent. And Broly had no choice but to become it. Because that wound, that betrayal, that act of violence, it set everything in motion. It wired Broly's brain for survival. It coded his nervous system for rage. It turned him into the weapon everyone feared he'd become. Not because he was born that way, but because they treated him like he was. And dude, this is the darkest psychological truth in the entire story. We become what we're treated as. If you're treated like a monster, you'll become a monster. If you're treated like a threat, you'll become a threat. If you're treated like you're too much, too dangerous, too broken, you'll internalize that. You'll believe it. And eventually you'll live it. Because the human mind is wired for consistency. It wants the story to make sense. And if everyone around you is telling you that you're the villain, if everyone's afraid of you, if everyone's trying to control you or destroy you, your brain will find a way to make that true. It'll find a way to justify the narrative. And before you know it, you're not just playing the role. You're the role. And that's what happened to Broly. He didn't choose to be the legendary Super Saiyan. He was forced into it. He was shaped by it. He was traumatized into it. And by the time he's an adult, by the time he's facing Goku and the Z fighters, he's not even fighting them because he wants to. He's fighting them because that's all he knows. That's all he's ever been allowed to be. The prophecy didn't predict Broly. It created him. And here's where it gets even heavier. Because in the newer movie, we see a different version of Broly. A version where he's not this cackling, sadistic villain. He's just a guy who's been hurt. A guy who's been isolated. A guy who's been used. And when he finally transforms, when he finally taps into that legendary power, he's not doing it out of malice. He's doing it out of pain. Out of desperation. Out of the overwhelming need to survive. And you can see it in his eyes, man. You can see the fear. You can see the confusion. You can see that he doesn't want to be doing this. But he can't stop. Because once the rage takes over, once the trauma is activated, once the wound is triggered, there's no off switch. There's just the spiral. And he's caught in it. And so is everyone around him. And this is the prophecy, bro. Not that Broly would destroy the universe. But that pain left unhealed will always destroy. That trauma left unprocessed will always spread. That rage left unaddressed will always consume. And it doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter how much you try to control it. It doesn't matter how many devices you put on your head or how many walls you build around your heart. The wound will find a way out. It always does. And when it does, it won't just hurt you. It'll hurt everyone. Now let's talk about the other side of this. Because there's another character in this story who represents the opposite path. And that's Goku. Goku's the one everyone loves. The hero. The pure-hearted warrior. The guy who's always smiling, always optimistic, always looking for the next fight. And on the surface, it seems like Goku and Broly are opposites. But they're not. They're mirrors. Because Goku's been through trauma too. He was sent to Earth as a baby just like Broly was left for dead. He lost his parents just like Broly. He's been in life-or-death battles since he was a kid, just like Broly. The difference? Goku had people. He had Grandpa Gohan. He had Master Roshi. He had Krillin, Bulma, Chi-Chi. He had a support system. He had love. He had connection. And that changed everything. Because when you have people who see you, who care about you, who don't treat you like a monster, you don't become one. You process the pain differently. You metabolize the trauma differently. You learn that the world isn't just danger. It's also safety. It's also love. It's also hope. And that gives you a choice. A choice Broly never had. And this is the revelation, man. This is the thing that makes Broly's story so devastating. Because it didn't have to be this way. He didn't have to become the legendary Super Saiyan of destruction. He could have been like Goku. He could have been a protector. He could have been a hero. But he wasn't given that chance. He was isolated. He was controlled. He was feared. And so he became the thing they feared. And the prophecy was fulfilled. Not because it was destiny, but because it was designed. And here's the part that'll mess you up. Because the same thing is happening to people every single day. Right now, there are kids growing up in homes where they're treated like problems. Where they're told they're too much. Where they're punished for expressing pain. where they're isolated, controlled, and feared. And those kids are being wired. They're being shaped. They're being traumatized into becoming the very thing everyone's afraid they'll be. And then, when they grow up and they finally explode, when they finally rage, when they finally become the problem, everyone acts shocked. Everyone asks, how did this happen? Why are they like this? And nobody looks back. Nobody traces it to the wound. Nobody sees the prophecy being written in real time. They just see the monster. And they respond with more fear, more control, more isolation. And the cycle continues. And that's what Broly represents, dude. He's not just a character. He's a warning. He's a mirror. He's a prophecy that's playing out in real life, every single day in every corner of the world. And the scariest part? Most people don't even see it. They just see the rage. They just see the destruction. They just see the surface. But if you look deeper, if you actually pay attention, if you stop and ask, what happened to this person? What wound are they protecting? You'll see it. You'll see Broly. You'll see the prophecy. You'll see the system that creates monsters and then punishes them for existing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the point. That's why this story matters. That's why Broly matters. Because he's showing us the cost of ignoring pain. The cost of suppressing trauma. The cost of treating people like problems instead of human beings. And the cost is everything. The cost is the person they could have been. The cost is the life they could have lived. The cost is the love they could have given and received. And instead, all we get is rage. All we get is destruction. All we get is the prophecy fulfilled. And dude, if that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will. Because Broly deserved better. He deserved healing. He deserved love. He deserved a chance. And he never got it. And how many people in your life right now are living that same story? How many people are one bad day away from becoming their own version of Broly? How many people are walking around with wounds so deep, they don't even know they're bleeding? And how many of those people are being judged, rejected, isolated, instead of being seen, heard, and helped? And here's the final twist. The thing that makes this whole thing come full circle. Because the prophecy isn't just about Broly. It's about you. It's about me. It's about every single person who's ever carried a wound they didn't know how to heal. Every person who's ever felt like they're too much. Every person who's ever been afraid of their own rage. Every person who's ever looked in the mirror and thought, I'm a monster. The prophecy is that pain left alone will destroy. And the only way to stop it is to face it, to feel it, to heal it, before it's too late. And that's what we're doing here. That's what this whole video is about. We're breaking the cycle. We're stopping the prophecy. We're choosing a different path. And it starts with seeing Broly for what he really is. Not a monster, but a wounded child. A child who never got the chance to heal. A child who became the thing everyone feared because no one showed him another way. And if you see that in him, you can see it in yourself. And if you see it in yourself, you can change it. You can heal it. You can choose differently. And that's the power. That's the hope. That's the thing that makes this story more than just a tragedy. It's a map out of the darkness, if you're willing to follow it. So here we are, the end of the story. Except it's not really the end, is it? Because Broly's story doesn't have an ending. It has a pause, a moment of silence before the next explosion. And that's the most haunting part of all. Because no matter which version of Broly you're looking at, whether it's the old movies where he's pure destruction, or the new one where he's sympathetic and tragic, the outcome is always the same. He's defeated. He's stopped. He's put down. But he's never healed. Never truly saved. Never given the tools to break the cycle. He's just contained. Again. And the world moves on. Goku flies away. The Z fighters go home. Paragus is gone. And Broly? He's just left there. Floating in space. Stranded on another planet. Locked away somewhere. Waiting. Because the wound is still there. The rage is still there. The prophecy is still there. And it's only a matter of time before it all comes back. And dude, that's the real horror of this story. Not that Broly is dangerous, but that nothing ever changes. The system that created him is still in place. The trauma that wired him is still active. The triggers that set him off are still out there in the world. And nobody, not the heroes, not the universe, not even Broly himself, has figured out how to actually heal it. They've just figured out how to survive it. How to manage it. How to fight it off for one more day. And that's not a solution. That's just kicking the can down the road. That's just waiting for the next explosion. And it will come. It always does. And here's why this matters for you. For me. For everyone watching this. Because we live in a world that treats trauma the exact same way. We don't heal it. We manage it. We medicate it. We suppress it. We distract from it. We tell people to just get over it, or stay positive, or focus on the good. And all of that is just another version of Paragas's control device. It's just another way of saying, don't explode. Don't be too much. Don't let the wound show. But the wound doesn't go away just because you hide it. It doesn't heal just because you ignore it. It just waits, and it builds, and eventually it comes out. Maybe not in the same way as Broly. Maybe you don't transform into a legendary Super Saiyan and start destroying planets. But you do something. You push people away. You sabotage your relationships. You numb yourself with work, with substances, with endless scrolling. You snap at the people you love. You isolate yourself. You convince yourself that you're better off alone because at least then you can't hurt anyone. And all of that is just the wound speaking. It's just the trauma running the show. It's just Broly in a different form. And the scariest part? Most people never realize it. They just think that's who they are. They think they're just angry, or intense, or broken. They think it's their personality, their nature, their fault. But it's not. It's just the wound. And the wound can heal. But only if you face it. Only if you stop running. Only if you stop pretending it's not there. And that's the choice, man. That's the fork in the road. You can keep being Broly. You can keep letting the wound run your life. You can keep exploding and hurting people and then feeling guilty and suppressing it all over again. Or you can do the thing Broly never got the chance to do. You can stop. You can look at the wound. You can ask, what am I really protecting? What am I really afraid of? What happened to me that made me this way? And you can start the real work. The healing work. The work that doesn't make you weaker. It makes you free. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. Healing doesn't mean you lose your power. It doesn't mean you become soft or weak or passive. It means you stop being controlled by the pain. It means you get to choose how you show up in the world. It means the rage stops running you and you start running it. And that's real strength. That's real power. That's the thing Broly never got to experience. But you can, if you choose it. Now here's where it gets even darker. Because there's another layer to this. Another dimension that most people miss. And it's this. Broly is also a mirror for the people around him. For Goku. For Vegeta. For Paragus. For everyone who encounters him. Because when you meet someone like Broly, someone who's that wounded, that volatile, that intense, you have a choice. You can either see the wound and respond with compassion. Or you can see the rage and respond with fear. And most people choose fear. Most people see Broly and think, that's a threat. That's a problem. That needs to be stopped. And so they fight him. They defeat him. They pat themselves on the back for saving the day. But they never stop to ask why. They never stop to see the pain underneath the power. They never stop to consider that maybe, just maybe, if someone had helped him earlier, if someone had seen him for what he really was, none of this would have happened. And that's the tragedy, bro. Because Broly didn't need to be defeated. He needed to be saved. He needed someone to look past the rage and see the child underneath. The child who was stabbed. The child who was abandoned. The child who was told his entire life that he was too dangerous to be loved. And nobody did that. Nobody saw him. And so the cycle continued. And here's the thing, this is happening right now. In your life. In your family. In your community. There are people around you who are carrying wounds just like Broly's. Maybe not as dramatic. Maybe not as destructive. But just as real. Just as painful. Just as unhealed. And they're showing up in ways that are hard to deal with. They're angry. They're defensive. They're volatile. They're too much. And the easy thing to do is to judge them. To label them. To walk away. To say, that's not my problem. That's not my responsibility. But what if it is? Not in a codependent way. Not in a fix them way. But in a see them way. In a don't add to their wound way. In a maybe if I respond differently the cycle can stop here way. Because that's the power you have, man. You can't heal someone else's trauma. You can't force them to do the work. But you can choose not to be another King Vegeta. You can choose not to be another person who looks at someone's pain and decides they're a monster. You can choose to be the person who sees the wound. Who acknowledges it. Who doesn't run from it. And sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes, that one moment of being seen is the thing that changes everything. Is the thing that breaks the prophecy. Is the thing that stops the cycle. And maybe that person still has to do their own work. Maybe they still have to face their trauma and heal it. But at least they'll know they're not a monster. At least they'll know someone saw them. And that matters more than you think. Now here's the final piece. The piece that ties this all together. Because Broly's story isn't just about him. It's about the system. It's about the world that creates Brolys and then acts surprised when they explode. It's about the culture that traumatizes people and then punishes them for being traumatized. It's about the cycle of pain that gets passed down from generation to generation, and nobody ever stops to ask, how do we break this? And the answer is, one person at a time. One choice at a time. One healed wound at a time. Because you can't change the whole system overnight. You can't undo centuries of trauma and violence and pain. But you can change yourself. You can heal your wound. You can break your cycle. And when you do that, you stop passing it on. You stop creating more Brolys. You stop being the person who traumatizes others because you're too wounded to do anything else. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people do that, the whole system starts to shift. The prophecy starts to lose its power. And we start creating a world where people like Broly don't have to become monsters. Where they can just be people. Wounded people. Healing people. But people nonetheless. And that's the hope, man. That's the light in the darkness. That's the thing that makes this story more than just a tragedy. It's a call to action. A call to look at your own wound. To face your own rage. To stop running from your own pain. And to choose differently. To choose healing. To choose growth. To choose to be the person who breaks the cycle instead of perpetuating it. Because that's what Broly never got to do. But you can. And that's everything. But here's the thing. Broly isn't the only one. He's not the only character who's a walking psychological time bomb. He's not the only mirror. There's another character, someone you've probably never thought about this way, who's carrying a wound so deep, so toxic, so quietly destructive, that it makes Broly look obvious. And this character? They're not the villain. They're the hero. And that's what makes it so dangerous. I break down the whole thing in the next video. And trust me, once you see it, you'll never watch the same way again. It'll change how you see yourself. How you see the people around you. How you see the stories we tell and the roles we play. So don't stop here. Don't let this be the end. Because the real work is just beginning. And the next piece is the one that shows you how to actually heal the wound. How to stop being Broly. How to break the prophecy for good. Click the next video. Stay in this. Stay with me. Because we're not done yet. Not even close.